Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. The township denies the Legacy Center. And could Oxford firefighters be faced with a labor contract?
Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. The hope of creating a district to allow the Legacy Center to seek a commercial rehabilitation tax abatement was dashed by the Oxford Township Board by a 4-3 vote. Seeing his taxes double after rehabilitating the old C. Ray building, owner Christian Mills requested a district abatement designation so that his company could find some tax relief during construction, startup, and business development phases of the operation. Mills made it clear that he did not expect to eliminate the complete tax bill and would still be paying about $132,000 in yearly taxes. Things got heated at the meeting. Before the vote, Township Supervisor presented a county assessment spreadsheet defining potential future losses to township services should an abatement be approved.
Basically worried about need. We have people, I mean, it's going, the abatement's going to help, the applicant. But it's going to put a burden on, and what I had Leanne do was put together a spreadsheet. It was based on two different criteria. One was a $1 million improvement, and one was for a $2 million improvement. And I will read off, and what you have here, I've given to the Township Board. They've all got it. And anybody out there would like to read it. For a $1 million improvement, Township of Oxford would lose $5,023. The library, $7,300. Park and Rec, $4,500. I'm rounding these off, of course. The fire department would lose $18,000. This is over a 5-year. This is 5-year totals. North Oakland Transportation, $1,300. And the Township of Oxford Police would lose $20,500.
Oxford Library Director and Village Council member Brian Cloutier reiterated his previous opinion that the board not grant the abatement at this time.
I hear of companies all over the place trying to find ways of getting tax abatement. And even this gentleman and Mr. Hunter perhaps said that the state approved this in both the House and the Senate, and the governor is next to sign it. So if they approve it and the governor approves it, then it has to be right, correct? Wrong. This has no impact on the state government. This has all impact on the local government. So who cares? Really, what do they care about passing a law that has only impact on local government? They have nothing to lose. We do. And so I'm not buying it.
Trustee Jack Curtis expressed his displeasure with the spreadsheet, calling it a scare tactic against the Legacy Center.
Currently, the property tax that's received in Oxford Township from this property is how much money?
It's roughly $130,000.
$130,000. Out of that $130,000, a percent goes to the parks, a percent goes to the school, a percent goes to the library, a percent goes to all these different entities. So you are receiving a 43% increase in his taxes. We are receiving that money in the township, to which the park gets money, the fire gets money, the library gets money. So we're not missing money. What was done here is a scare tactic to show you that.
I take offense to that.
Well, I'm telling you, you can take offense to it all you want. I took offense to getting this and hearing the fact that we're greedy. We're looking at what we're not going to get. We're talking like a lady with a ham under her arm and complaining she's hungry because she doesn't have a loaf of bread.
And Dunn responded.
I take offense that the reason this was put together was
to scare people into seeing what they're not going to get.
Excuse me, did you raise your hand? Did you raise your hand?
Finished.
Well, finish.
I'm finished now.
This was to give information to our board to make a decision on what they want to do. There's a benefit on one side, but then the other side, there's not. I had to present the information, and again, I take offense by giving, by trying to get information to this board.
In support of Mills, a local resident in attendance felt that the board was short-sighted in their decision.
As an entrepreneur and looking at what you're saying, it's crazy. Like, everybody else is wooing companies to come move there, and you're pushing them away. You're going to end up with a whole bunch of empty industrial buildings in this town. I mean, you really are. It's you're participating in the risk for the future benefit is really what you're doing. You're not counting the future money that the building's going to appreciate. Is kind of flawed, because if he walks away from that building, which was a blight on this town for years, you're gonna have nothing. It's more participating in the risk for the future benefit, not, giving him, he's gonna make millions because he did this. It's like, well, he can lose millions also.
Entrepreneur Mills agreed.
I think it's worth noting the impact of your decision tonight. And I know we'll have opportunity to come back and discuss that. From an entrepreneur perspective, because I've been, supporting communities and building nonprofit businesses for 20 years. Your decision was short-sighted, and you send a message to the community that you don't want to embrace entrepreneurs or partnerships or be pro-business in this community.
We'd like to hear from you. Do you think that the tax abatement is a good trade for Mills cleaning up a blighted building on M24? Give us a call and let us know.
By unanimous vote, the Oxford Township Board approved a 3-year labor contract with the Firefighters Union, Local 4763. The contract will now go to the membership for expected ratification. The new contract, affecting only full-time union members, provided a 2.5% salary increase for 2016. But instead of pocketing the raises, the increase would be earmarked to go into the firefighters' pension fund. In 2017 and 2018, full-time firefighters will receive raises in accordance with the contract. If the new contract is approved by union memberships, it will take effect by December 31st of this year. On another note, Township trustees told Fire Chief Pete Schultz that he could hire 2 more full-time firefighters.
Oxford Township would like precinct number 1 voters to know that you do have a voting poll to go to. As you know, the Oxford Veterans Memorial Civic Center building was sold recently to vote, so voters will be moved to the Village of Oxford Community Room number 22 West.
I think that I messed up the script there. I think that's 22 West Burdick, so
It
it's
is.
the new village. Sorry about that. But short news this week. We're going to let everybody have a holiday, I guess.
I think we are.
But I'm a little bit disappointed in the township's decision for the Legacy Center. He came in and made a wonderful looking building, and I have a feeling that's going to bring some more building to this end of town, or the north end of town. So I have to agree, it was a little short-sighted.
Yeah, I kind of have a tendency to go with you on this one. I think that, these decisions need to be based on each independent situation.
I agree.
And this one, where we have a building that's been, vacant for how many years?
Oh my gosh, well, they had that auction place in there, but
Yeah.
it's not been fixed up at all since C. Ray moved out, and that was, I believe, in the early 80s, maybe late 70s. So it's always looked the same, and look what Christian did to that place, and look what he's bringing into this community. I really wish that maybe the rest of the community would have had more of a say-so in that.
Yeah, I think now to provide, these abatements willy-nilly is not a good thing.
Right, right.
My experience as a business person is the fact that if a new business comes in, they build a new building and they get an abatement, that money comes from me as a business person, and I can understand, the thinking out there on that part. But here's a building that's pretty much dilapidated. The gentleman has put several $1 million into it at this point, and was just looking for some relief, I think, from the tax situation.
He's invested into our community. I think that, scratch your back and scratch my back. I think we should invest into him. And I'm a little bit curious also. I know that Supervisor Dunn presented figures on how it's going to affect the library, the village, the fire, but I'm wondering.
Those people all have an interest, by the way, in this thing.
And that's
so,
kind of like
know.
futures.
Right.
That's not a guaranteed thing, and they do have an interest, and I'm sure that's why Brian Cloutier stood up. I wasn't clear if he stood up as a resident and was against it, or as a library and was against it, and maybe he made himself known. I didn't see the whole meeting, I just saw those bits and pieces.
Well, I think Supervisor Dunn, it was his responsibility to bring that information forward, just so it's
Yeah,
on the table.
agreed.
On the other hand, I think
don't
Jack
like
Curtis did a great job in saying, look, you're going to make
Scare
this
tactic.
non-inducive to businesses wanting to come into this area. You're going to say, hey, we're an unfriendly area.
Yeah, right.
So,
Right.
now,
If those
Jack.
figures were going to come out, then the whole thing should come out. We are a friendly area,
Yep.
and they should make it a lot easier for people like individually, like Christian Mills, who did invest so much money into this area, and not even sure if it's going to work.
Right.
So anyhow, that's my 2 cents. Did you want to talk a little bit about Leonard?
Leonard, we want to talk about the building, the roof.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to get into that one or not.
No, you did talk about it on Minutes by Minutes.
I
I
did.
really, really, really encourage you people, watch your township meetings and see how these people are making decisions for you and spending your money. And that's all I can say. That's it for Oxford News this week.
Yeah.
If you want to learn more about these stories and others, go to your local store and pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader newspaper, or better yet, watch us right here on Charter Channel 191, AT&T Channel 99, and Leonard, stay right where you're at on Channel 19, and Merry Christmas.
Coming up next on OCTV, Oxford Sports with Jamie Hughes, and catch Oxford School News with John Ochins. Also, join Dave Kenny with Auto Talk and Science in the News.
I'm Terry Stiles, and that's it for Oxford News this week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and Merry Christmas.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, Dracula was onto something. The idea that blood from the young can rejuvenate an aging human body might not be too far from the truth, but no biting is required. Next year, we'll see the first results from a trial that has given young blood to people with mild to moderate Alzheimer's in the hope that it will improve their symptoms. There's good reason to think that it will. Years of animal experiments have shown that an infusion of young blood in older mice can improve their cognition, physical endurance, and the health of several organs. It even makes them look younger. The first few people to trial the procedure got their taste of young blood in 2014. It came in the form of transfusion of blood donated by volunteers aged 30 or younger. The team behind the trial hopes to see immediate improvements in cognition. But Tony Weiss-Correa of Stanford School of Medicine in California, who was leading the study, cautions that the procedure is very experimental. For that reason, it's probably best to avoid private clinics that have already started offering to turn back the years in a similar manner. What makes young blood so revitalizing is unclear, but we're starting to get a handle on some of the candidates. For instance, a transfusion of young blood can reverse heart decline in old mice, an effect that can be mimicked by giving mice just GDF11, a growth factor in the blood that decreases with age. When Weiss-Correa's team injected young human blood into old mice, he says they saw astounding effects, and we have our fingers crossed for a similar reaction next year. Just in time for me. And in our next story, watch out, Rudolph. Golden eagles in Norway regularly prey on reindeer calves and have even been seen taking adults, particularly in early winter following bouts of bad weather. The eagles, which have a wingspan of around 2 meters, land on the reindeer's back and sink their long talons into it, puncturing large blood vessels under the spine. Then they just wait for the deer to die from blood loss. This is according to field observations made by Olav Strand of the Norwegian Institute for Nature Research, who says he's seen eagles kill adult deer weighing as much as 60 kilograms. Eagles usually hunt calves during the spring when females generally give birth within a period of about 2 weeks. During that period, eagles can be very active. In the calving area, you see them operating more or less every day, says Strand. Golden eagles live across the northern hemisphere. Their usual prey includes hares, rabbits, grouse, and ground squirrels, but they have also been seen hunting large animals such as wolves, sheep, and saga antelope. When diving for prey, they can reach speeds of 144 miles per hour. Reindeer populations in Norway are healthy, but their status is vulnerable due to the loss of habitat from human activity. In our next story, we go under the sea. Just wait, and dinner will come floating down. That seems to be the feeding strategy for sharks and other bony fish that thrive in the western Mediterranean Sea at depths exceeding 2,000 meters. Beef, goat meat, dolphin blubber, vegetables, and fruit, even a bunch of grapes, for example, were gratefully received and gobbled down by these fish, living in or around a canyon called the Valencia Trench, midway between Barcelona, Spain, and the Balearic Islands. Joan Cart of the Institute of Marine Sciences in Barcelona and her team unpicked deep-sea dining habits by catching 455 live fish, mainly 3 species of shark, and 6 bottom-dwelling bony fish, and analyzing their gut contents. The researchers say that the food waste and debris could be affecting deep-sea food webs, which are already under stress from trawling. These fish's guts included microscopic or microplastic fragments and strands from fishing nets, although in amounts too small to cause problems for large fish. Plastics were frequently found, but in small volumes of the total diet, typically less than 2% by weight, she says. Much more important were food falls from other dead fish and animals, which provided as much as 70% of the stomach contents in some fish, particularly sea sharks, such as Portuguese dogfish and blackmouth catfish. The remains of members of their own species accounted for much of what they ate. A surprise, however, was the range of food surviving at that depth from human activity, which accounted for around 5 to 6% of the diet. Such items turned up in fish living beneath routes frequently plied by ferries and within fishing grounds. So watch out what you throw overboard. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back after this.
Back with you on Oxford News this week, time for Oxford Sports. Yes, we're back to the court. Basketball back in season. Well, the boys' varsity basketball team is off to an 0-2 start so far with some tough losses to St. Mary's Prep and Romeo. The newly appointed head coach Dave Brown said the goal of the season is to get better every day. I guess if you've lost 2, probably that would be the goal. To lead the team, Brown is looking for a sophomore Tristan Meissen, junior Jordan Jaden, and seniors Joe Rapidus and Jordan Veach. Mark McAllister, new to the varsity squad this year, Nolan Harding, juniors Ray Levine, and Sean Nicholson. Again, we are looking for hopefully some better things. The boys will next hit the hardwood coming up on Monday. That'll be December 21st before they go into the holiday break. They'll travel to Imlay City to take on Richmond as part of the Imlay City Ford Holiday Showcase. Keeping it out on the court, the Lady Wildcat varsity basketball team kicked off the season with a 1-1 record after beating Lakeland 33-28. That was on December 10th, falling to John Glenn 35-46 on December 12th. After coming off a 16-5 record last year, losing a lot of senior players, head coach Steve Emmert said he has set no expectations, but he expects good things. Teams in the league to watch out for, Emmert said: South Lathrop, Rochester Adams, Clarkston, and Lake Orion. In his 4 years of varsity coaching, Emmert has compiled a record of 56-28. His overall career record, unbelievable, it's just phenomenal, 369-215, 369 wins. I guess you have some bragging rights if you're a basketball coach. The Lady Wildcats will next take on their competitor on, again, Friday. That was December 11th. We'll have the results on next week's broadcast. The Oxford boys bowling team dominated the Berkeley Bears on December 10th at the Collier Lanes, leading the way to co-captain Luke DeLong with a game of 191 and 214. Others bowled well as well. Christian Kartner with a nice 220 game. Davis Strasser 218, Tanner Kartner 203, Will Fallon had a 201, and Tristan Boyce with a 200. On December 12th, the entire Wildcat bowling team went to the Cougar Classic Lanes at Imperial Lanes, and that was the Oxford boys varsity and girls team, along with the JV squads as well. I guess the entire squad, just like they said. There were 22 varsity boys teams, 2 JV boys teams, 18 varsity girls, and 12 JV girls teams on the card. When all was done, the Wildcats had 3 of 5 teams making it to the Final Four. Both girls teams bowled well and lost in the championship match, but also finished second as well. While the varsity boys team lost in the Final Four match, they won a consolation match to capture third. The Wildcats were also represented in the singles as well. Winning medals being named to tournament teams: Marissa Smith, Tanner and Christian Kartner, Luke Meyer, Will Fallon, and Alex Vinternaros. Alex, I hope I got your name right there. But what great bowling. Again, congratulations to the Oxford bowling team. If you have an athlete in the Oxford system, we urge you to log on to their website, keep the schedules and all their local happenings and where they're going to be, when they're going to be there. You can log on to oxfordathletics.org. It's all one word, oxfordathletics.org. Gives you complete schedules, upcoming events, and where they're going to be. Again, a great place if you have an athlete in the Oxford system. While you're on the World Wide Web, we urge you to join our website at OCCTV.org. Hit the Programs tab. You can hit see any one of our programs, meetings, sporting programs, or even concerts. You can watch it on your computer, iPad, or wherever you choose to watch it. Again, it's right at your fingertips, OCCTV.org. Anyways, hopefully you'll catch all the sports here on the weekends. Urge you to stay tuned this weekend as we will be running a great program of wrestling. Wrestling's back with us again, and that'll be on Saturday and Sunday between the hours of 1:30 and 6 during our sporting broadcast. So we do it all over again. Hope you have yourself a great holiday. Enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you again on Oxford Sports. Take care, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, the 2016 Ram 1500 pickup has received a 4-star safety rating from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. That's 1 star less than competitive pickups at General Motors and Ford. Ram pickups are Fiat Chrysler's top-selling vehicles in the U.S. The 1500 earned a top-level 5-star safety rating in the agency's side impact crash testing, but it earned 4 or 5 stars in the frontal crash and rollover test, according to the agency's website, safercar.gov. Compared with the 2015 Ram 1500, the 2016 model's rollover safety rating improved from 3 to 4 stars, but other ratings were unchanged. The 2015 Ram 1500 received an overall 4-star rating as well. Both of Ram's 2 major pickup competitors, the Ford F-150 and Chevrolet Silverado, earned 5-star overall safety ratings from NHTSA. Like the Ram 1500, both the F-150 and Silverado received 4-star ratings in the agency's rollover testing. The Ram 1500 is the oldest of Detroit 3's pickups, having been re-engineered for the 2013 model year. And on the regulatory front, U.S. auto safety officials met with major automakers on December 16th, seeking a voluntary agreement from the industry to improve recall completion rates, prevent vehicle cyber attacks, and spot defects earlier, sources familiar with the matter told Reuters. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is pushing the world's largest automakers to agree to voluntary reforms and announce them at a planned event January 15th at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit, government officials say. NHTSA sent invitations to 15 automakers, including General Motors, Ford, Toyota, Volkswagen, Honda, Daimler AG, and Fiat Chrysler, the sources said. The 7-hour meeting was set for a government office building at O'Hare International Airport in Chicago. The agency invited automakers' top safety officials, and some automakers will also send government affairs officials, according to sources. In a memo to automakers 2 weeks ago, marked highly confidential, NHTSA said the meeting will focus on issues including improving safety culture, boosting recall completion rates, cybersecurity, and making changes to early warning data reporting systems, the source said. The meeting also was to include discussions of how the automakers can alert NHTSA to potential safety issues earlier. The memo was described to Reuters by several automakers who received it. NHTSA spokesman Gordon Trowbridge declined December 15th to comment on the meeting, as did automakers. In September, 10 automakers said they agreed to, in principle, to make automatic emergency braking a standard feature in all future vehicles. NHTSA Administrator Mark Roskin said 2 weeks ago that 17 automakers are now involved in the talks to finalize a voluntary agreement. NHTSA came under harsh criticism for failing to detect ignition switch defects in older General Motors vehicles, linked to 124 deaths, and officials pledged to make reforms. The NHTSA meeting follows a December 1st meeting Transportation Secretary Anthony Fox held with top officials of 15 major automakers, including CEOs of GM, Fiat, and Fiat Chrysler, that is. The Fox meeting was prompted by record-setting recalls and cybersecurity threats to vehicles, the department said. Participants were asked to come prepared with suggestions to share and spend the next month working towards concrete commitments to industry-wide safety measures, according to the department. And on the merger front, Dow Chemical Company and DuPont, two historic manufacturing giants with major roles supplying the auto industry, said December 11th they plan to merge in a deal that's the first step in a plan to create 3 new, highly focused businesses. The merger, the largest ever in the chemicals industry, will combine products from both Dow and DuPont in areas of agriculture, commodities, chemicals, and specialty chemicals to create the new businesses. It comes after 2 years of pressure from activist investors who argued that shareholders of both companies would realize greater value if they were broken up. Both companies have a major presence in the automotive supply chain. DuPont's automotive unit ranks 64 in the Automotive News list of the top 100 global suppliers, with estimated worldwide sales of automakers of $3 billion in 2014. The company produces a variety of polymers, composites, chemicals, and bio-based fuels for automakers. Dow Automotive ranks number 72 on the list, generating $2.8 billion in business with automakers last year. The company products include various adhesives, foams, and industrial fluids for automakers. Dow and DuPont will combine in an all-stock deal to create a new company, Dow DuPont, with a market capitalization of about $130 billion, they said in their joint statement. Dow CEO Andrew Laveris, 61, will become executive chairman, and DuPont CEO Ed Breen, 59, will be the CEO of the new company. Wow. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways this Christmas season. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.